I'm legally insane, and I went to prison for 6 years, maximum security. And you're watching episode 5 of my Wii game prices are going up, where I discuss 100 Nintendo Wii game prices that either have gone up, will go up, and will continue to go up. Because guess what, guys? It is so early in the lifespan of the Wii game prices going up. So early. Look at every console before the Wii. NES, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, work your way up. Okay? Even though you could have got these games way cheaper 5 years ago, they're still cheap today. Do you think NES collectors, Super Nintendo collectors, do you think when I could have paid $100 for Little Samson after it had previously been $25, do you think I said, I think I missed the boat on that one? Well, I did at the time, actually. And I regretted that. So I'm a seasoned collector, guys. I've been around the game a long time. All right. I learned a thing or two, and I learned to get my games for cheap after making some previous mistakes, such as passing on Little Samson for $100, because I thought, well, that's expensive. Okay, well, those same $100 games, these certain rare games end up becoming $500 to $1,000 games. Every console gets these games. Every single one. Sculptor's Cut for the N64, the special Blockbuster edition. I remember when that was $400. People were crapping their pants. Oh, $400, and I'm talking Canadian dollars. And then like a year later, it was like $800. I've discussed why the prices are going up in the past, but it's a combination of factors. It's everything from inflation to the main culprit, which is a generational thing. The games don't start to make their major moves until the people that grew up on the consoles get older and get disposable income. And we are hitting that era for the 360, the PS3, and the Nintendo Wii. They are all getting hit together. It's already started. But that doesn't mean that you can't get games for cheap today. That's what this series is about. Getting games for cheap. Do you want to pay a low dollar amount today, or do you want to pay a high dollar amount tomorrow? That's all it is. Let's get started. I got a couple more gems for you. We are starting off strong today. I got a hidden gem. If you can call it that, it's a hidden game. It's in the top 5, I'm going to say. Top 5 rarest Wii games that you did not know about. I guarantee you did not know about it. And if you did, you are a seasoned veteran. And you know your stuff. You are a Wii master. Hear me out. Mr. Bean's Wacky World. But pay very close attention. This is the North American version, because there's a big difference between the North American version and the PAL version. There is no comparison. They are not the same. And rightfully so. Look at the popularity of Mr. Bean over in Europe. And then look at the popularity of Mr. Bean here in the West. Sure, we know Mr. Bean. We love Mr. Bean. But the popularity is it's a night and day difference. Mr. Bean over here is a nobody in comparison to over in Europe and over in the UK. They love Mr. Bean over there. He's like basically the king. He's the king of Great Britain. All right, let's face it. The guy probably runs the country. Well, it just so happens. So I was dabbling in Wii collecting back in around 2015 is when I was just getting my feet wet. I was broke. I didn't have a job. That's another story for another day, to be honest. There was a time where I was basically homeless, and I spent the last of my money on Super Nintendo games and a couple of other like Nintendo Wii games and a few others. I'm not even kidding. I had $2,000 to my name. I spent every dime, and then I went homeless. I'll save that story for another day. True story. I'm not even kidding. I spent it all on Super Nintendo games. I didn't care. I'm legally insane. Did I not mention that earlier? I was homeless with a bunch of Super Nintendo games. And I regretted nothing. I don't care. I wanted those Super Nintendo games because I knew the prices were going up. And they did go up. That's what I've been trying to tell you guys. And this is years ago. 2015, I was buying these Super Nintendo games. Captain Commando for the Super Nintendo. Thing went shot to the freaking moon. Well, I knew it was going to the moon, and I spent the last of my dimes buying those rare Super Nintendo games. So hold up. Getting off topic here. But I bought Mr. Bean back in 2015. This is sealed. Like, I got to be very careful with this. Sealed. Okay? You see that seal? Got a sticker on it, though. They screwed me. I think I got it on Amazon. I wish I could remember what I paid. I know it wasn't like ultra cheap. I'm going to say like $30. Hell, it might have even been 40 Canadian dollars, which was kind of expensive at the time because it was a brand new sealed one. But this game is, like I said, top 5. Potentially, probably, I'd have to do the math and figure out what my top 5 are. But I'm going to guarantee it's in top 5 rare Wii games, North American Wii games. It's probably cheap as dirt in Europe. Okay, so I got a lot of European viewers who wonder why there's price discrepancies between the region. Well, there's price discrepancies because of popularity in print runs. So this game is very important because it came out in 2009 in Europe. It's based on the animated series as well, which I don't even think we got here in the West. That's going to play a critical role as to its rarity as well. We didn't even get that friggin' series. Comes out in 2009 in Europe. And then 2 years later, somebody somewhere must have said, hey, we're desperate for money. How about we release Mr. Bean in the West? Because we didn't release this to them. The West never got the PS2 version. We didn't get any version. And they said, well, if we're going to release it there, nobody's going to buy it, so let's just do the bare bones minimum print run. Because back then you had to have like a minimum print run. Getting off topic here, but so finally in 2011 they say, hey, let's do a print run. It was obviously the bare bones minimum. I suspect there's 5,000 copies out there. Here's the chart, which this chart alone is going to prove the rarity of this game. This chart up here is US dollars. Right now down here is also US dollars. I will switch over to Canadian shortly. The complete inbox is trading around $80, $78.99 USD, 112 new. Good luck getting a new one for that price, buddy. Doesn't sell very often, I don't think. Yeah, one copy in December, $60. And, ooh, holy hell, a lot of them in October. You know what? To have 4 sales in October, it does make me wonder if it was the same person buying them. Because sometimes a smart collector or smart investor will go in and buy up multiple copies, especially when there's a rare game as rare as this. This might also be a situation where a bunch of people had it on the watch list. Yeah, there's 2 copies, same price. So this is probably exact same seller, had multiple copies. This might have been what happened. Somebody went in, bought one. The watch listers see that, oh crap, one of the 2 is gone. I better stop waiting and hoping that I'm going to get a discount, twiddling my thumbs, thinking, oh, maybe the price will come down. Oh, it's a rare game. The prices are coming down. Nobody's buying Nintendo Wii games. Said actual retards. I've heard actual tards say that in the comment section. I've been making these types of videos for a very long time. Actual tards will say, well, this game sucks. It's going to crash back down to 2015 prices. I think I'll get that for 2015. What did I pay for that? May $15.99. I think I'll wait for it to come back down to $15.99. Okay, well, you're going to be waiting a long time, buddy. You're going to be waiting long till after you're dead before this thing comes down to $15.99. You're going to have to wait for the disc rot to kick in and have every single Nintendo Wii game just stop working. And then all of a sudden they'll finally have no value. And I really don't think they're going to port this game over to the Nintendo Switch either. They just ain't going to port Mr. Bean over. It's not good enough. Not even worthy of a port. Even if it was a $10,000 game, they ain't porting this thing. But as you can see, I mean, regardless, the trend is just straight up. This is a straight line up. I'll try to throw an arrow on here, but it's been trending up since 2015. And most games bottomed in 2019. Most Wii games and other 360 PS3 games, they all bottomed in 2019, except for some of the ultra rare ones. And this makes the list. This one, it never bottomed in 2019. It's just been going up. It's been trending straight up ever since. The untrained eye would have looked at this, probably had not very many copies available on the market, or who knows what happened here. Shot up a little bit to $56, came back down to about 30. I take my sunglasses off to look at this chart a little bit better. Somebody might say, oh, it's going to crash. It's going to crash, going back down to 15, 10, $15. No, it's not. Not a rare gem like this. Now, after the COVID boom, it has flatlined a little bit. So it topped out around 85. 85 was the high. That's the peak of this chart. Okay. It's made a run almost up to that level, but this is basically it's stuck within a range right now. But it'll break out eventually. There's just not very many copies available. It's important to mention that this particular game, this type of game, this is not for players, unless you're a huge Mr. Bean fan. This is for collectors and or Mr. Bean fans, which most people that actually like this game, because yeah, it got terrible reviews, but guess what? If you actually read the comments, like go look up random gameplay videos of Mr. Bean or certain reviews, you'll see it filled with comments of people saying, oh, I love this game. Oh, this game was my childhood. I had this game. I loved it. They probably had it as a young child. Their parents bought it for them. Everybody loves Mr. Bean. Parents love Mr. Bean. So some people, yeah, they have fond memories of the game, but it doesn't necessarily mean it was a good game. It just means, if you love Mr. Bean and you had this game back then, you would probably enjoy it. It's like Coraline. I mentioned that in my last video. Coraline, based on the movie. The people that love to play Coraline love the movie, right? Like one of my favorite movies is Braveheart. I have the Braveheart PC game. It's not known for being very good, although I will tell you the opposite. I'll say, hell, that game's a 10 out of freaking 10. I blew my balls off playing that. When I found out they had made a Braveheart game for the PC back in the day, I was the first one in line. I got it on day one. I was first in line to get that game, and nobody talked about it. To this day, I've never heard anybody mention it. It did not do good. So let's check out some of the reviews. Okay, here's a funny one. This is coming from Metacritic. There are no actual professional game company reviews on this site. I couldn't find any. It's so hard to get information on this game. The game is so rare, you can't even get information on it. Okay? Incredibly rare. And I'm going to spend a lot of time on this game because it's important. There's a lot of really interesting info out there. So all I can find is user reviews. Let's start with the first one here. No particular order. This guy gives it a pretty solid score. We're talking a 5 out of 10 here, which isn't that bad. It's probably realistic. He's praising it for the excellent graphics and colors, which it does have. That is true. The game looks gorgeous. Visually, the game looks great. And it looks just like the animated series. But then he says, but the gameplay is monotonous. The gameplay is so monotonous that you will get tired of playing it for half an hour. The game is unnecessarily long. Oh, I don't agree with that. It's only 5 hours. But he's saying it's so bad that 5 hours will feel like 50 hours. That's what he's saying. Okay, now we're getting into the perhaps even more realistic reviews. A 0 out of 10. Not very often do you see a 0. Spoiler alert. Okay, so this is one of the worst games I've ever seen. Terrible controls, terrible graphics. Hey, the graphics aren't bad, buddy. And unoriginal gameplay. This should be on AVGN. That's a good one. That's a good one. Okay, Dread Blocks says this has got to be one of the worst one of, if not the worst Wii game I've ever played. Bad graphics, unresponsive controls, horrible sound design. Even the sound design, when you're getting even bad sound design, you know it's bad. Terrible cutscenes, which are ripped straight from the show. That sounds pretty good, buddy. This is unspeakable horror. And this is from 2018, 2021 up here. These are new reviews, buddy. Okay, these three down here I think are fake. I don't know who did these. Which sick bastard? I think Mr. Bean, the real Mr. Bean, was tired of his game getting bashed, and he came and made fake reviews. And how I know that they're fake is they were all made on the same day. Literally within the same 24 hours, because I think he did it at just about before 12 a.m. on December 15th. So his final review ended up being on December 16th. And here's where another way I can prove that they're fake. Look at the name of who wrote them. Mr. Bean, Wacky Mr. Bean, and Mr. Bean Wacky World. Missing without the D. Okay, these are clearly fake, but let's just read one of them. Mr. Bean's Wacky World of Wii redefines the psychological horror genre. Okay, this is a troll, which makes it even funnier. Oh, that's funny. Redefines the psychological horror genre with a thought-provoking storyline. This is hilarious. I'm reading this live. Storyline and gruesome graphic content. Follow Mr. Bean as he uncovers the truth of Teddy's disappearance. Oh yeah, it does have mini games where you can play 2-player. Redefines the stealth. Oh, now it's a stealth action genre. Showing a V for victory, good decisions, clear direction, deep gameplay, extremely polished. Okay, so basically everything that he says, the opposite is true. Okay, now let's read another real review. 3 out of 10. Bad, don't buy. Main reason here is that it's not fun at all, low graphics, and most importantly, low fun. Now, I want to show you something else. To prove yet again how rare this game is. So somebody made a Reddit post, and it was only 1 year ago, saying, can someone please explain to me why Mr. Bean for the Wii is worth so much? And some of the answers are kind of funny, but this guy has it correct here. Probably like any randomly expensive shovelware game, low print run, low sales. I don't think the animated Mr. Bean show was even airing in the US when the game came out. This guy makes a good comment too. Don't underestimate the value of Mr. Bean as a whole. The show was super short. The show was a super short run, but has incredibly loyal fans, especially in Europe. People who love Mr. Bean, they frickin' love Mr. Bean. And I like this comment too. Hey, one guy is saying, well, hey, buddy, listen, Mr. Bean ain't shovelware. Like I said, some people, they actually like this game. I didn't know there was a Mr. Bean game, so probably one of the reasons. Yes, just like Coraline. Nobody even knew the game existed. Not many were made, and some people are very nostalgic toward Mr. Bean and are willing to part with their money. Oh, here's a funny one. Because Mr. Bean himself is a troll, he bought all of the copies he could find to bring a feel of prestige to his own game. We all know that man is quite arrogant. Funny guy, though. Ah, well, there's the answer. That settles it, folks. That settles it. And by the way, if you want to know a little bit more about the game, I should have mentioned earlier, it's a 3D Mario type game, 3D platformer. It has 12 levels, take about 5 hours to complete. I did some digging. I had to go on the Wayback Machine because this website's been taken down. This is from Crappy Games, an old Crappy Games wiki clone. And although it's talking about the PS2 version, the Wii version is the same version. It's just the better version with better graphics and better controls. So if you are from Europe, this is the best version to get. It is not the same as the PS2. They added additional content. The Wii version has additional mini games, better controls, and an additional area. So on this old wiki, I throw out something that looked really interesting. They basically bashed the hell out of the game. It was a hilarious site that I believe was taken down for whatever reason. Maybe they got sued by Wiki. But at the very bottom, number 16, he says the game is just a reskin of a PAL exclusive, so European exclusive called Agent Hugo Lemon Twist. When I looked up Lemon Twist, it looked similar. I've never played the game, so I'm not going to like say for sure it's 100% reskin. I think they did make changes. But perhaps Mr. Bean was based off of that game and they made changes. It very well could be. If you're interested, I mean, you could look into that a little bit more. Horrible controls, ear bleeding sound effects. Oh, that's funny. And do I think that this is a contender for a future $500 game? Yes. We haven't even hit the floodgates yet on Wii collecting. Basically nobody's collecting for the Wii today. Nobody is touching the Wii. That's how early these days are. So what happens when more collectors come flooding in? Are they going to want to own this game? Are they going to want to own it? Yes, a lot of them will. The hardcore ones will. Right? Your average gamer looking for Mario, he doesn't want this game. Even if it was cheap, even if it was $5, he doesn't want it. If you're looking for all the great games on the console, you're not the collector. You're not the target market for that game. You're not the target market for Mr. Bean. Let's look at the next game. Next up, we got Punch-Out! This one I decided to bring up because of the recent news that has come out. There's a hidden manual back there. Show you the manual. Move these inserts. Okay. Couple cool inserts. There is the actual manual. It is 2-player, by the way. This Punch-Out! Is a very special Punch-Out!. Not just because it's on the Wii, but because it is the only Punch-Out! That has built-in 2-player mode. You can box your buddy. Game came out in 2009. It did fairly well. Sold 1.27 million copies worldwide, which is on the lower end for a Nintendo exclusive. Typically, for a huge, big-name Nintendo franchise, that is on the lower end. But it's not rare. Fairly common. One very unique thing to mention is another reason why this is so unique and special is because there's 3 different controls that you can play the game with, so you can choose how you play it. You can hold the Wii remote like an NES controller, which is how I would play the game. You can have the Wii remote and the nunchuck if you prefer that. A lot of Wii games use that style, so you have options for your preference. But then it offers a third option, which is really unique in that you can use the balance board. You have the nunchuck and the remote, but also you're going to use the balance board, which is going to turn the game into more of a physical, get in shape type of game. You're going to be using your body because you're going to use the balance board to duck and dodge. So it's meant to add flavor to the game, add some excitement, mix things up a little bit. It's got a ton of repetitive, it's got a replayability toward the game. And the game is also especially special because it has almost every single one of the NES boxers return. Ode pays homage to the original, the NES, which was the best version. Still to this day, arguably is still the best version. Okay, this surpasses the Super Nintendo version. This is better than the Super Nintendo version. It explains why it's worth more today than the Super Nintendo version. Because it is that sought after. Because it's that good. It's better. More collectible. It's a very underrated game. I remember when it first came out, it was a little bit of the talk of the town. People were excited because we hadn't seen Punch-Out game since the Super Nintendo days. Nintendo let the franchise go dormant for a while, and they brought it back. So here's a better example where you can see that the Wii games bottomed out. This is a perfect example because this is a popular title. You can see it held a pretty good value for as long as it could during that Wii era. But it was slowly dipping down over time as the Wii was phased out. Right? That's what happens with these old consoles. They become old. Nobody wants them. Uncollectible. Everybody's chasing the new thing until it becomes retro, and all of a sudden the collectors start diving in. Everything's dirt cheap. Then the generational gap kicks in. The people that grew up on the console of various ages start trickling in as they slowly start entering the workforce. They finish college, start full-time jobs, get disposable income. They want their Wii games. And then we had that big run-up, which, it was partly triggered by COVID. That was a trigger. That was a trigger event, but these prices were going to go up regardless. Sometimes a trigger event is what causes the wave one. They move up in waves. So we have flatlined, or we are trade range bound ever since. So when you see it goes to $42 and then it crashes down to $31, you don't crap your pants saying, holy hell, the thing crashed. It's going back down to 13. Look, percentage-wise, it's down 25%. Look. Oh my gosh, the things are crashing. You pull your hair out. No, you might want to consider perhaps buying at that price. Because it ain't going down to 13. Things go up, things go down. They don't move in straight lines. Well, recently it did have a little bit of a bump, which I think has been caused by the news that came out. So I'm bringing this up because this was going to trend up higher on its own regardless, because it's a good game, and I could easily see this being a $75 game. What is that in Canadian dollars? Holy frig, $69 Canadian. So this could easily be a $100 game on its own over time, because it's a staple. Everybody's going to want it. And it didn't get the sales that it deserves or the respect it deserved. Even though it's a good game, it never got the respect it deserved, but it's getting that respect now. And now, thanks to the news that came out recently, we have a bigger spike here, which might lead to yet another, a bigger spike in the long term. So there are many articles out there. This particular article is from Nintendo Life, titled Nintendo's Punch-Out series may be dead and buried for good. Which, yes, there are rumors going around. It may or may not be true, but it looks like we can guarantee one thing, and that's the fact that there is no Punch-Out sequel coming out anytime soon. And that will lead to the price going up as people realize this is the last Punch-Out. And if it actually does become the last Punch-Out, like over the next 20 years, let's say, I'll give Nintendo 20 years to make a sequel. But if they don't make one, the price is going up. And the price today is fairly cheap and very reasonable. Remember, you can get this today for $67 Canadian. That's after the recent bump up in price. Oh, frig, now $85 for mint condition one. Somebody paid $100. Oh, dang. Okay, well, if we go back further in early January or early December, it was trading for around $50, $60, $70. 75, all over the place. Not CIB, so $80. Oh, dang. Anywhere from $55 to $80. That was the old going rate. I'll skip right down to the quote at the bottom. And the gist of it is that an unnamed developer, presumably someone who worked at Next Level Games, according to this interviewer or presenter, according to Khan, the Wii title being Punch-Out received a lot more backlash over its character designs than anyone expected. And regardless of the assurances from Next Level Games that it wouldn't happen again, Nintendo essentially called it a day. So this relates to the characters being, quote, stereotypes that you're not allowed to do anymore because the media says you can't. Or the media says it's a stereotype when it may not actually be one. I mean, anything is a stereotype and or racist nowadays. Just say anything in the world and somebody will say, oh, that's racist. I have a spoon here. It's made out of silver. That's racist, buddy. I don't have a silver spoon. What are you, racist? I got someone, so let's read the quote. I got someone from, let's say, a studio close to Punch-Out, drunk at a bar once, and asked about a new Punch-Out game. The story I was told, and bear in mind, this could have just been the perspective of one person and no one else, was that there was significantly more backlash against the characters of the Wii game than they expected. This team spent a lot of time assuring Nintendo that they weren't leaning into bad stereotypes that would get called out this time. So everyone just kind of furrowed their brow and called it done, especially since other games from that team had much, much higher sales potential. Yes, so then they go on to quote the other to-the-moon sales, such as Luigi's Mansion, etc., and how 1.27 million copies really wasn't all that many anyway, compared to the other games that they've made. So why focus on another Punch-Out when you could just focus on other games? Have those same developers make something else rather than a Punch-Out. So needless to say, I don't think you're getting a Punch-Out game anytime soon. You ain't getting one on the Switch, and you're probably not getting one on the Switch number 2. That said, I think now might be a good time to start looking at getting a Punch-Out. You don't need to buy it today. Maybe wait for the hype to die down, because I think a little bit of hype has come in. But at the same time, don't twiddle your thumbs for too long, because the price was creeping up regardless. And regardless, I think the price would have continued to creep up. Not, this will never be a $500 game, because you got to remember, there's different tiers of how high a price can go on a game. There's different tiers of rarity, uncommon, common, etc. A game like this might have gone up an extra 50% and probably flatlined there for a long time. Punch-Out is not a $500 game candidate. But, some first-party Nintendo games, they do pretty well. I mean, look at Mario Party 4, or 1, 2, 3, in particular 4 and 5 for the GameCube. They're pretty pricey. Last up, we got a very cheap game, Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions. I wanted to throw this one up for a very specific reason, but in particular, I'm actually bunching all of the top 3 Spider-Mans together and counting it as one game as part of the 100. This one here is Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions, but I'm also throwing in Web of Shadows and Edge of Time in together because I think all 3 of them will go up. Value, not necessarily because the Wii version is particularly good, although I'm going to get into why there are some special versions that you would want to keep your eye out for. But in particular, those 3 Spider-Man games are never going to be re-released or remade. They lost the rights to Spider-Man. Activision no longer has the rights to Spider-Man. They will never get the rights to Spider-Man ever again. These games were delisted. You cannot get them on the PC. You cannot download them. You will never be able to get them except for physically. And on top of that, your PS3 and your 360 versions are the go-to favorites. Those are the ones that will climb the highest in price. I do have long-term targets on those. I think that they will continue to go up. I had all of those games in my 360 series. Spider-Man games are very popular. They're very good games. All three of them are solid games. Very, very solid games. This is one of my favorites. Although it's not the fan favorite. Probably Web of Shadows is, or even Edge of Time are typically both more popular. Edge of Time was the direct sequel to this game. So in this game, you do get 4 Spider-Mans from 4 different universes. The Amazing Spider-Man being your main character. Then you get 3 other Spider-Mans. Okay, so I want to show you some PS3 Spider-Man game prices. I pulled up all the PS3 Spider-Mans just to show you that these are very sought after. Rare. They're not rare, but they're sought after. So they're in high demand. There's more demand than supply out there right now, which has led to the price having to go up to balance the supply and demand. So as you can see, Web of Shadows is trading for almost 200 Canadian dollars. Let me switch over to USD real quick for you guys, and we'll go back to Canadian. $115 US. Okay? If you're not wearing a diaper for that, that's on you, buddy. That's on you. You should have known this was going to be pricey. Shattered Dimensions, $80. So it's the cheapest of the 3 kings. And Spider-Man Edge of Time is $88. So basically $90. But regardless, I mean, the chart on all of them looks good. Look at this chart. This is the PS3 version, mind you. But my point is that the Wii versions are going to ride the coattails of the 360 and the PS3 versions as the poor man's version. Believe it or not, there are people out there that don't collect for the Wii, or sorry, they don't collect for the PS3, or maybe they don't collect for the 360 either, but they do collect for the Wii. People buy the Wii version. People buy the ride the coattails version. Some people do. Driver 3 is an example. Or Driver San Francisco. Where's that one here? Yeah. I mean, people are buying this version. Like, who would want it? I don't know. And there are some differences too. Actually, this Wii version is 4-player. You don't get that on your 360 or your PS3. And look at this. People are buying it. They're buying it because they are collectors and or they have a Wii and they don't have a PS3. And they want to play this game just like you want to play it. It's a good game. It's just fine to play on the Wii, just like Spider-Man. Spider-Man Shadow Dimensions, for example, plays just fine on the Wii. No gameplay issues whatsoever. No frame rate issues. It plays fine. It looks great. So these versions are significantly cheaper, but if the PS3 versions double, these ones are going to end up doubling too. But in particular, I want to throw out that there are some unique variants. There's a lot of variants out there, so you got to keep your eye out for them. This particular one has the negative zone suit. Unlock code inside. It's for the collectors because it's not that this version is the only version that has the suit. My understanding is you can unlock it using a cheat code on any version. But this is a variant cover-wise. And on top of that, if you get the variant, actually having the code inside is astronomically rare to find. Go ahead, try to find one. Be my guest. Go ahead. Go on eBay. I'll sit here and I'll be waiting for you because like I said, good luck. Good luck. You ain't gonna find one. And there's an even rarer version that has a comic book. That was a Walmart exclusive and or a Kmart exclusive. I had to go to eBay sold listings to find this one. There used to be one like a week ago, and I think some son of a bitch bought it. Because I didn't see it when I looked again. This is Canadian dollars, but regardless. This one sold for really cheap because the idiot did an auction and not a buy it now. So that's the seller's fault for being a complete moron, which is why this version, the rarest version of them all, with the comic, sold for cheaper than the one that only had the cover variant with no comic, because this guy's an idiot. If you have a rare game like that, don't auction it. This is what it looks like. This is like the holy grail for a collector. So keep your eye out for this one. I'm throwing it out there because a lot of collectors do watch my channel. Some of them are pretty hardcore and they might actually be interested. I don't own it, nor am I interested because the price is no longer cheap. But had I known about this a couple years ago or whenever this was cheap, I would have bought it. This is the Holy Grail comic right here. What it looks like. So pretty cool stuff. Look out for the variants. The variants are where the money's at. There's going to be collectors. The collectors that buy this game, they want the variant. They don't want the OG original. In fact, I sold my OG original. And I kept my one and only variant. So let's look at Web of Shadow. As you can see, the chart has done nowhere near what the PS3 and the 360 charts have done. But there's still a pretty clear trend. It is trending up. 2019, you could have got it for $9, $9, and today it's $15.99 USD. Right, $25 Canadian dollar game. Used to be $6 not that long ago. It's a very slow uptrend. And let's look at the other Spider-Man games. Here's Spider-Man Shattered Dimension. This is, also a very clear uptrend. $25 US. Dang, man. This one's pricey. But you know what? This one includes variants, I think. So maybe the price is a little bit skewed because of the variants. I'm not sure. So yeah, 35 Canadian. Just pretty close to what I sold mine for. Look at this friggin' $60 sold listing. That might have been the one that we just looked at, the variant. That was probably it. Canadian bucks. Canadian dollars with the comic book. Maybe, I'm just saying it might have been. With Scarlet Spider insert. Oh, see, look at this. What's this one? Yeah, there's other variants out there too. See, look at this one. Scarlet Spider costume. Hey, that's pretty cool. That's really cool. Does he have the insert though? Yeah, he's got the insert. That's super cool. Oh, that's awesome. Awesome little costume too. Now, like I said though, you don't actually need this variant to actually use the code. You just need the code and you can go on GameFAQ to do it. Lastly, let's check out Edge of Time real quick. Once again, slowly creeping up, had a little dip down. Long-term trend looks up still. Is this going to be a $100 game? No. But if you're, maybe you want the Spider-Man games on the Wii and you don't want it on the 360 or the PS3, or maybe you want all three. I collect for PS3, 360, and I collect for 360, PS3, and Wii. I'm an all three guy, but I don't necessarily need a copy of the game for all three consoles. This one I have because I'm legally insane and I like having the variant. And I want it in my collection. I'd rather pay whatever the price is today than having to pay double the price tomorrow. You're going to wake up one of these days and this is going to be $50 Canadian. It's already almost gotten there before. It's going to get there again in the future. New Spider-Man games come out. More collectors come in for the Wii. More kids that grew up on the Wii come flooding back in. Wii gets hot again. Get Metal Jesus talking about the Wii again. Mr. Rightway comes back in. He starts talking about the Wii again. There's more people. The more YouTubers start talking about the Wii again. Shout out to the Experience Junkie. He's been talking about the Wii. He made a series, 50 shovelware Wii games that aren't necessarily shovelware. Because there's a lot of shovelware out there that on the Wii in general, but there's a lot of shovelware that gets categorized as shovelware, but it's not actually shovelware. Plenty of games out there. I just, in my last video, talked about one of them. From Sega. Wacky World of Sports. That's not shovelware. It looks like shovelware, but it's not shovelware. But people don't know that. They think that the Wii is nothing but shovelware, but there's gems on the Wii. You just gotta look. You can't write them off. You gotta look into it. Capcom was making games. Konami's making games. Games that look like shovelware, but they're not shovelware. Don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. I talk about retro games. I don't just do Nintendo Wii, though. If you're here for the Nintendo Wii, you gotta understand, I don't just do Nintendo Wii. I do retro games and I do Nintendo Switch games as well. I do a variety of things, and the content that I make because that's what I'm passionate about. I'm not going to make something that I'm not passionate about. I'm not going to do PS5 because I don't play PS5. I don't do PS5. Wait till the world goes digital. They're going to come looking. Everyone and their mother is going to come looking for physical games, and you're only going to get it in the retro world. Okay? Let me know what you thought of this video in the comments below. I'll see you next week.
Rolling through the city with a pocket full of cash. Xbox 360, prices climbing fast. Got my eye on F113, gonna cop it real quick. But I gotta hustle hard, the prices are real. Yo, mom's the plug, she got the hook up, no lie. At the 7-Eleven dumpster, I buy and buy. Splatterhouse, Blue Dragon, got them in my stash. Buying red games from your mom, what I want, she has.